What's going on, everybody? Andy Waddell with Forum Films. Welcome back to Grade in 10. Today we are going to brew up some sweet color in a beautiful coffee shop with coffee master Erica Vani. Let's get started. All right, this is Erica, and she is in this gorgeous local coffee shop where we captured this project. It's on our website at forumfilms.com. Highly recommend you check it out, and we'll link up to her Insta as well below. So we are going to take this shot from here to kapow, this nice, beautiful, glowing coffee experience. Let's get started. To begin, I will delete all of my nodes. Skadoosh. There we go. To kick it off, this is a Blackmagic Pocket 6K, maybe? Might be a 4K. I think it's a 6K. So we're in DaVinci YRGB Color Manage space. I'm going to do a little bit of denoising just to take out some of the tiny bit of noise in the deepest grays and blacks. Not bad by any means, but just going to clean it up a little. And then we're going to jump to exposure. So I'm watching the coffee cup. What I don't want to do is start losing detail in this cup by doing something like this and blow it out. So I'm just going to bring the exposure up about halfway through this region. Then I'm going to boost a little bit right in the high mids. Just enough to kind of make her pop a little bit more. And then of course we're going to do a lot of other fun things. Okay, primaries next. I'm going to roll my offset wheel. And what I want to do is just kind of pull this whole thing back from being overall a little too orange, a little too warm. Just going to cool it off just a bit. Watching my scopes, just getting a sense of just making her skin feel a little more natural, making the white of her shirt and that mug feel a little more natural. And it's going to cool it off. And I also want to feel this silver here clean up a little bit. So if I audition this off and on, just a little greenish orange, and then if I pull it to here, it's maybe a little too blue, but you get what I'm going for. All right, I'm going to leave that alone and move on to make 3 parallels. I'm going to tackle her skin, her shirt, and her apron. So we have a little bit of a challenge here because there's a lot of warm, skin tony looking tones behind her, but we're going to isolate it as best we can with a 3D keyer. And honestly, if there's a little bit of bleed, I don't think it's going to be a problem in this shot. So we're just going to do some sampling. Oops, hit her eyebrow and it grabbed everything. Okay, so we're going to solo up. It's tricky too because she has tattoos here that I don't want to get, but I want to make sure I get her skin around the tattoos. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to get pretty extreme with how much I clip it. But I think by the time we get to the end, it's not going to be an issue at all. And I'm also going to mask her. So this shot is a Dana Dolly shot. And we are kind of circling her. Well, I can't really mask much around that. We'll see what we can do right in there. But if I audition this shot, we're moving around. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. You know what? Let's start over. Part of color is to push it, see what you can get, and then start over if you don't get what you want. And that's okay. I often push a little further, find that I'm not getting the result I want, kind of reset, take a different approach, find a different way to isolate what I need, and voila. I think sometimes if you get greedy, try to grab too much at once, it can bite you. Her hand's down here behind this silver carafe, so it's kind of shadowing. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I do want to get a little more of her cheek. Let's see what happens if I crush this down a little more. Okay, let's see. And she's getting reflection right here from this coffee maker. And yes, the irony is not lost on me that we have a massive talent in Erica as a coffee master, and she's demonstrating a pod-based machine. I get it, but it was one of many she had to demo, so part of the project. All right, let's see what we can do with the skin tone. First of all, I'm gonna get color compressor on it. Want to unify her skin tone a bit more, so we're gonna just flip to vector scope. I want to watch my skin tone on the skin indicator, the skin tonometer, I like to call it. I just now called it that. That's how long I've liked to call it that. We're actually pretty dead on, so I'm just going to tighten up some saturation on her. And then I'm going to unsolo this so I can see it in context. And then I might use my offset, kind of going back and forth, just to push it a little or pull it a little. Let's toggle that on and off, on. Oh yeah, I like that. I am going to see if I can grab one more sample right here on her wrist. Oops, see if I do this right. Qualifier. Yeah, okay. I like that. All right, so I also want to just kind of lighten her skin up a little bit, just to like increase her exposure a tad without bringing everything else up. I do see a little bit of play behind her head here. Tighten that out a little more. Okay, I'm gonna jump. Oops, I'm gonna jump to the end. I like at some point to go ahead and sharpen up the whole image. I'm gonna roll this back to about 0.45. There we go. That really, really helps. Okay, coming back into my 3D qualifier, let's knock out ISO in her shirt. And honestly, this coffee cup too. So we're gonna let this be for both. And there's a few other little white elements around. I don't mind if we get a little bit of white from those. I'm gonna blur it a little bit, a little denoise. Okay, what I want to do is essentially drop the saturation, cool it off. Well, cool it off in the sense that it was inheriting a lot of the warmth from this room, but I'm gonna literally just make it less colored, and then I'm gonna put just a touch more lift in the highs right here. So if I audition that off and on, it's really subtle, but you can kind of pick it up here and right here. So I like that. Let's repeat the steps for her apron. Let's see here. There's a lot of dark tones. Let's see if I can do something better. There we go. That's kind of cool. There we go. There we go. That's what we needed. Grabbing the shadow part of her apron as well as the lighter, more illuminated part. Awesome. What I'm going to do is lift it in general just a touch. I'm going to bump the saturation, up to like 75%. And then I'm also going to come back over here to my curves. I'm just going to lift that blue a little more. I'll make it kind of absurdly colored. I like that. Off, on, kaboom. So now if I look at her as a whole and I delete or I disable all of these, boom, there she is sitting in the shot. Boom, now we're pulling her out. Okay. Skin, I'm still not thrilled with this bit of wall I'm grabbing right there. I'm going to see if I can chop that out like that. That might have done it. Just a little bit of that. It's a tricky thing to balance here for sure. Now, I will drop a mask over her so that I can cut out any of this nonsense on the far left side of the frame. Because she doesn't really move from here in this shot, so I think I'm safe to kind of come in about right there. Okay. Cool. Okay, so she's feeling really zesty. So let's do something super fun. We're going to flip back to Parade. Okay, we're gonna make a depth map and then a blur slash adjustment. Blur slash adjust. So what we're gonna do is drop the depth map plugin on there. We're gonna leave it at faster, because right now I just wanna see what I'm doing, and invert it, adjust levels, and what we're gonna do is make everything white, blurry, everything black, and focus. So knowing that her and this coffee machine or coffee pot here and this machine here are kind of the foreground, we'll let this start falling off, but I want to really tighten this up a little bit. And what we're going to do is kind of go a little bit surreal on her actual lens depth of field. Intentionally not shot particularly shallow because of just for the end product. So what I'm going to do is pass the alpha to here. So what I want, so sorry, I can't talk and do it at the same time. So because we didn't shoot it particularly shallow very intentionally that day, for the fun of it on this, I'm going to just push the background even further out of focus using this depth map, and then we'll pass it to the blur, add some blur, and then we can also adjust everything that's back there independently of her, which is kind of cool, so we can continue to separate her and the background. Okay, so I'm passing the alpha to this node here, and there we go, I had that soloed, sorry. Now I'm gonna throw Gaussian blur on here. Way too much. So as usual, dial it back, and then just push it up a little until you start to find a result that works. It's really subtle but cool. So if I disable it, let's particularly look at this wheel and this machine back here. Right in here is a really good spot to look. And I'm enabling it, and it just pops it out just a little bit. Let's go a little further. Let's just push the boundaries. Get a little bit absurd. Now, you will see there's a touch of fringing kind of artifact on her. We would need to dial this in a little bit tighter to call it done, but the idea of Graydon 10 is raw to render in about 10 minutes. We just want a shot that we can present the client with that says, hey, this is the direction we're going, we'll fine tune it, but this is really close. Okay, so while we're on this blur slash adjustment node, I'm going to pull the background back a bit in terms of exposure, which really makes her pop. And I'm just gonna play with where I kind of put that. I think I am gonna go moving the mids here. I don't want to crush the blacks by any means. I just want to bring the intensity of the background down just a little bit so that she really shines. And then I'm also going to use the gain over here, and I'm going to roll the highlights just a little bit warmer. So we're going to actually push that background a little bit warmer, which further separates her. Now we are keying her from frame left and simulating the sun coming in the morning. It's a little bit cooler light. And then we're counteracting that with the warmer lights in the background. So, all right, that's feeling pretty zesty. So if I kill this whole idea right here, that is the raw shot, and that is us pushing it a little further. And again, like I said, you might find the depth is a little too much and you get a little fringing on your talent, and depending on how she moves in the shot, you know, you might get a little bit of that ghosting, so we just have to adjust. You can also put this on better, and it'll take a little longer depending on your GPU, but it's reprocessing now. But that looks really cool, I think. All right, let's cruise on. We're getting close. All right, I'm gonna do these last three nodes. I'm just gonna go ahead and set them up. We're gonna do, going into home base here, we're gonna do a glow. We're gonna put a little bit of glow for some vibe. I'm gonna do a small amount of vignette to push my eye away from the right of the frame. And I'm gonna do a lab CIE color space node just to tighten up my bottom end. So glow, let's throw aperture diffusion on here. That's a whole lot. So what we're gonna do is just color it about 80% right here. We're gonna push it toward this color by about 80%. And what I'm gonna do is just dial in a little gentle sunlight. So it's just slightly yellow. Pull that aperture size up, blade curvature up. It's very soft. And now we're gonna go to 0 and then slowly fade it in. And I just want to see, I don't want to get enough that I'm blowing something out, specifically her right arm, but at about 30-35%, that's adding just a nice little lift right here. Makes her feel magical. And if you've ever tasted her coffee, she is absolutely magical. I can promise you that. Okay, vignette. Let us throw the vignette on here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, flip this to advanced. I want to take us up to about 1.1, so oversizing it a little bit. Make it a little round. You know what? I'm gonna leave that. Oops, there we go, 1.78. I'll leave that. I'm gonna go to about 1. Man, I cannot type. 1.1. Okay, I'm gonna push this to the left a little, and what I want to see is the right of frame start to fall off just a little bit, and then I'm gonna push it up so that we're basically taking everything on the bottom edge of this counter all the way to here, and we're just pushing our eye over this direction a wee bit more so that we're leaning into that key light and tightening up and kind of losing or de-emphasizing what's happening on frame right and frame bottom. And then I'm going to global blend that. I can't say it. Globo blend. Like Globo Gym. Globo blend. Okay, and then if I audition off and on. All right, I'm going to put this depth back on faster because everything I do after that, it's like having to calculate again. So if I audition it off, on, it just kind of pushes you this way. And that's what I want to do. I want to feel this area right here. I'm going to drop it down to about 0.4, about 40%. Okay, let's leave that there for now. Finally, we're in the lab node. We're going to right click. Oh, I already did this. It's in lab CIE color space. So now when I roll my shadows down, it's going to pull some warm tones out of the shadows. And if I roll highlights up, it's going to push warm tones into the highlights. I'm going to do about a 1.5 on the highlights, and I'm going to drop this down to about a negative, let's call it 6.5. Boom. Okay. Did you see what that did? That was super cool. I'm going to audition that off. Still like an overall little bit of a tint of oranginess over the whole thing. And then as soon as I turn it on, skadoosh. Love that. Now everything's done. Let me go back, check her skin tone on the vector scope, solo that. Looking dead on, looking good. It's blending well. She's got this shadow falling off here because our fake sunlight's kind of casting a harder shadow, a little bit of a harder shadow right there. But we are feeling really good right there. I love this background. I could really pull that back even more. And I could even pull the shadows over here on the lift. I could roll them even a little cooler if I wanted to. And I don't like it. Reset. Okay. Let's walk this through. Rock on. This is looking so good. Okay, so denoise is in. Next, we're just going to get exposure. We're just bringing this up kind of to a little bit healthier level while keeping the mood. Our primaries, we're just going to roll everything a little bit to the east right here. North, east, southwest. So I'm watching this white here. I'm watching the white of her shirt. I'm watching this silver. Silver to me is a great indicator. I love when you can see the difference in silver, and it's a little blue right now, but I still think we leaned in the right direction. Okay, so now we're gonna tackle her skin tone. Boom. We're gonna tackle her shirt. Boom, a little bit white. Not a lot to do to it other than just kind of pull some of the color spill out. And now her apron. Cup pop, there we go. Okay, we're gonna come down here to this depth, blur, and adjustment. So we're creating this additional fake depth of field in the shot, and then blurring the background more, and then also pulling down our exposure back there to help make her pop a little more. A little bit of glow over the whole image just to give us this nice softness. A vignette to push our eyes to the upper left side where our key light is coming from. Really emphasize that. Lab, to tighten up a little bit. I'm actually going to pull that back to like negative 5.5, not quite so much. And then sharpen to tighten up the image on her face. And there you have it. It's not rendered or cached yet, but Erica Voni showing you how to put a pod in a pod machine. But I am really loving this shot now. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. Please give us the follows, subscribes, likes, leave comments. Check out the links to Erica and this project below, and we'll see you next time on Grade in 10.